Today's episode 42 part 2 is in continuation of the previous episode 42 part 1 on the topic of world order. Let us go. In World Order, Henry Kissinger discusses the challenges and dynamics associated with different ideological world orders, including socialist and Islamic world orders. Kissinger's discussion of this topic is part of a broader exploration of how different belief systems and ideologies, whether Islamic, socialist, or others, can influence the behavior of states and impact international relations. He emphasizes the importance of understanding these diverse perspectives in order to navigate the complex and interconnected world of global politics. Here is some explanation of these ideological world orders. The first is socialist world order. Kissinger examines the ideological struggle and competition between the United States and the Soviet Union during the Cold War. He refers to the socialist world order as the global system shaped by the principles of communism and the leadership of the Soviet Union. This order was characterized by the division of the world into two opposite blocs, with the United States leading the Western capitalist bloc and the Soviet Union leading the Eastern communist bloc. The Cold War era was marked by intense political, military, and ideological rivalry between these superpowers. All the efforts were made to consolidate support for socialist, communist ideology in the countries that were part of the Soviet Union. At the same time, elements, groups, and parties inside the American bloc countries were indoctrinated to revolt against their governments in favor of a socialist revolution. This was, in a way, a deviation from the Westphalia Treaty of Non Interference and respect for the sovereignty of member states. Number two, Islamic world order. Kashinger also discusses the role of Islamic countries and the potential influence of Islam in shaping world order. He highlights the cultural, historical, and geopolitical significance of the Islamic world, which includes a diverse range of countries with varying degrees of political and economic power. The Islamic world order is not a monolithic entity but rather a complex and multifaceted part of the global landscape. Kissinger considers the potential for Islamic ideas and values to influence international relations, especially in the context of the Middle East. In World Order, Henry Kissinger discusses the concept of Dar al Islam and Dar al Harb as part of an examination of different worldviews and international relations. These are Islamic terms that help define the Islamic world order from a conservative perspective. Number one, Dar al Islam. This term translates to abode of Islam or a house of Islam. It refers to the territories and regions where Islam is dominant and where Islamic law or Sharia is applied. In the context of international relations, it represents the ideal for conservative Muslims, a world in which Islamic principles and governance rule or prevail. Number two, Dar al Harb. This term translates to abode of war. It refers to regions or territories where Islamic law is not enforced and non Muslim authorities or government rules. It implies a state of conflict both in terms of the lack of Islamic governance and the potential for ideological or even physical confrontation between the Islamic world and non Muslim entities. Kissinger uses these terms to highlight the perspective of conservative Muslims who may view the world through this binary framework. It underscores the idea that from this perspective, the world is divided into the realm of Islam, Dar al Islam, and the realm of non Islam, Dar al Harb. The goal for some conservative Muslims may be to expand the influence of Dar al Islam and bring more regions under Islamic governance. By discussing these terms, Kissinger seeks to provide insight into the complexities and diverse worldviews that shape international relations. Recognizing that different ideologies and belief systems can impact global politics and influence the behavior of states and non state actors. Beside what the author has written about the European world order, the current crisis in the Middle East is the product of the same European world order. However, it was mainly Britain to be blamed for tricking the European Jews and offering them a land where native Palestinians were already living for thousands of years. Brits thought that these Jews would do the same as their European ancestors did to American Indians. Even European Jews or Zionists at that time were not able to figure out that European immigrants to the Americas did outnumber the local Indians, whereas the Jewish total population in Europe was not more than a couple of million. The consequences of that terrible decision are what we see in the form of unending conflict and bloodshed even after the lapse of 75 years. It was wrong because a state within a state was created against the wishes of the local people. They were deprived of political rights and property rights inside their own country. In reality, this was the biggest crime committed against world peace by the British Empire with the connivance of the European world order. With the immense power, physical and virtual walls, and heavy bombardment done today with the full backing of the USA and Europe, Israelis are still unable to fully defeat the spirit of the original owners of the Palestinian land. Unfortunately, blood being shed of innocent Israeli and Palestinian children, elders, men, and women during all these years is on the hands of those who initially introduced the idea of the Jewish state in Palestine. That was not only a conspiracy against Palestine.